Arne, first of all, obviously, it appears that you're targeting reinforcements in the forward line and in the back line. So Alexander Isak and Mark Gay, what can you tell us of the situations regarding the potential for them to lose from Liverpool players?
What I can tell you is not a lot. And if someone else is going to ask that question, it's going to be the same answer. So, as I've said so many times, and it's been shown on Friday as well, I could even impact the game Friday with the players we had on the bench. Federico came in, scored a goal. So it would be much nicer for us to talk about the players we have and for me. But I can also understand that you have to ask this question, but your superior probably told you, and I know what his answer is going to be.
I told my superior.
Oh, you? Oh, okay. Or are you?
At the same time, what are you expecting going to Newcastle? Because obviously a lot of things have been said off the pitch, so that could potentially add to the atmosphere as well as maybe even Newcastle's motivation.
Yeah. Nothing to do with anything that's in the media a lot, but I think if you go to Newcastle, you know what to expect. We've played them 3 times last season, and twice their intensity levels were above ours. So in the away game, especially the first 60 minutes, they were so intense. They were fully deserved, had the lead, and in the League Cup final, they were more intense than us as well. So I don't think they need anything to add for them being intense if they play at St James's Park. It is, yeah, they play at St James's Park. So yeah, it's apart from the intensity, it's a very good team. They have also a team that can make it a fight, if you want to call it like this. They have players for this, but they also have players that are so comfortable in the ball. So one of the best teams in the league, and one of the most difficult away games that you can have in a season, especially, as you say it here, under the lights. Yeah, under the lights. So yeah.
And what difference can Ryan Gravenberch coming back make to your overall solidity?
I think a lot. At least if he's the same player as he was last season, that could help us a lot. If you just simply look at the second goal we conceded, they could just go from one side, from the 18-yard box to the other side, without being attacked, which was smart because Virgil and Ibu needed to go back because it was a 4 versus 2 situation. But I think if you look back at last season and everything, single time he played, Ryan would have been in that position, and for him not being there, and us playing with very good players but very attacking-minded players. That, for example, hurt us in that goal, and that wasn't the first time where we lacked a player in that position in the counter-attack for the other team. So, normally, if he brings his normal level, it would definitely help us to have him back again.
Just a word on the fitness of the squad. Is there any news about Frimpong and Bradley's fitness?
Yeah, Connor trained for a few minutes with us today for the first time, and medical team was completely right about Jeremy to tell me that I had to take him off because he's out till the end of the international break, and that happened in the game. So I think I got criticized a bit by taking him off, didn't I? Yeah. And I've already said immediately after the game, this had nothing to do with how we played, but that we felt that he had an issue in his hamstring. And with we, I don't mean me, but the medical staff, and they were completely right. So good call to take him off, otherwise he would have maybe been out for longer, and we expect to have him back after the international break.
And the most sort of recent signing, Giovanni, how's he looked in training, and is he... When do you think he could be involved or something?
Now, he's a good-looking guy, so as most Italians. He's trained with us 3 times now, I think. If you look at his transfer fee, you can expect that he's already quite grown up for his age, and that's exactly what I saw. So he comes in as an 18-year-old just playing with his new teammates as if he's here for longer. Impressive if you look at how tall he is, fast, comfortable on the ball. So there's a reason why we paid the transfer fee as we did, because we see him as a bright prospect. Yeah. Is that a good English? And he had already 3 good sessions, but it also tells you something about the team. If you come to this club, if you come into this team, you feel at ease from the start, because it's a very good and nice group to start your Liverpool career in.
Well, we've got to talk about Alexander Isak. He's featured front and centre there. It's unlikely he's going to feature on Monday night. A very complicated situation, isn't it?
Very complicated situation, and a situation I think could have been handled better from all parties. You know, let's be honest. I mean, it's a dance that's going to be done. It has been done between footballers and clubs, and it will continue to be done. You know, it's a football's a contractual sport. You know, Isak signed his contract. He was happy to sign his contract when he did, and now he doesn't. He's not happy with that. He wants to move to somewhere else. Newcastle don't want him to go. So, it becomes a game of cat and mouse, and it's, public pressure. You know, and ultimately, it just for me, it's just distasteful. It really is. I look at Eberechi Eze and what he's done, at Crystal Palace and the service he's given them, and I think he goes with the grace and blessings of the fans, the manager, the players, his teammates, and his reputation intact. I think whatever happens with Isak now, I think he gets his move, but I think it leaves a sour note for the Newcastle fans. It's
a very big difference that you've mentioned there, because Eze was in the team for Fredrikstad, the game against Fredrikstad, of course, for Crystal Palace. To say goodbye, he leaves in a very different way. As as we heard their manager also mentioning, my player is in training. Oliver Glasner, I'm not sure if you heard him saying, my player is in training. He's here, Mark Gay here as well, same story. Whereas for Alexander Isak, very clearly, he's at training, but he's not in training. And I suppose for many people, that's really what they can't accept and what they don't like about it, because he's been paid this contract, this big fee that he agreed, as you mentioned, and he's not there for the team when they need him.
Yeah, I think it's a sad situation, to be honest, because he's such a fantastic footballer, an amazing goal scorer, especially a club like Newcastle. They appreciate that number 9 figure, Alan Shearer, they love Alan Shearer, this iconic figure up there, and all of a sudden you get someone like an Isak that scores goals and win a trophy. So it just seems like the perfect time to be at the football club. But I do feel like there's ways in which you do things. I think if you put yourself in the fans' shoes, they obviously pay their money to come watch the team, work around the clock to buy their season tickets. And then you've got one of your better players basically saying, I don't want to play for this football club. Then obviously he come out and his statements talking about obviously the club understand his stance on it, and the relationship's broken down. Is sort of it's a broken promise and it's unfixable. So it's going to be obviously hard for the fans, because you never want to see your better players go. Callum Wilson's obviously gone, and they need a forward in that. But it's a sad situation, to be honest.
Does that also remind us how important it is as a player that you surround yourself with kind of the right people?
Yeah. It is, and it's, listen, agents have a job. They got they got mouths to feed, and every agent will want you to move, because there's a beneficial financial benefit to them. So then your advice is slightly tinged. It's not someone coming from the outside saying, well, listen, and also what I would say with Isak, I don't want to be too judgmental on the lad, right? Because he might have stars in his eyes. He wants to play for Liverpool. And he's a young man, and he thinks this is the only way I can get what I want. And we was all driven young men at one point or another, where we footballers, we're determined and we want to do it. So that's easily that sort of emotion is easily sort of manipulated slightly to do that. But I think Isak, whatever the situation, it will end, I think, with him going to Liverpool. And I think when he looks back at it, hopefully he's man in his 30s and his 40s, he'll look back and go, I probably could have handled that better and you'd have done it differently. But we've all done things in our youth which we probably wasn't the right thing to do. But if I was his big brother, I would, and you got 3 years left on his contract, and I say, listen, this ain't a fight you want now. Go and have a year in the Champions League with Newcastle. Maybe you win another trophy, cement your legacy. It might not be Liverpool next summer, but it might be Real Madrid. You know, you don't know where the world will take you, but it's important, you know, and as you get older, I think it's more important you do the right thing. You have your ethics and things like that. So I don't want to be too judgmental on him, because we've all been there, we've done the silly things, and everything, but I don't think he's covered himself in glory with how him and his team have handled this whole situation.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough to say. Well, Eddie Howe spoke about the latest on Alexander Isak's situation and whether he'd welcome him back.
About Alexander Isak, and has anything changed over... Morning, Eddie. Before we come on to the match, just want to ask you firstly about Alexander Isak, and has anything changed over the last couple of days with his situation?
No, there's been no change.
So he, again, won't be part of your squad? Is that your expectation?
Yeah, no, he won't be part of the squad for this weekend's game.
Over the summer, you've answered a lot of questions about him, but earlier this week there was an exchange of words publicly. He published a statement. The club responded quite quickly. Is it helpful to you that there is now other communication about this situation coming from the club, coming from higher up?
Yeah, I'd always say my preference for these things is it doesn't happen publicly, because I think everything is better dealt with behind closed doors, but needs must, and in this situation the club has spoken, and probably justifiably so in that moment.
And is it still your hope that he can be reintegrated into the squad, even if that is dependent on him?
Yeah, of course. He's contracted to us, he's our player. My wish is that he would be playing on Monday night with us, but he won't be, and that's regrettable at this moment. But he, 100%, you know, I want to see him back in a Newcastle shirt.
I wonder how you're dealing with this unique situation with Alex. How are you dealing with it personally?
I think, of course, these situations are far from ideal, as in talking press-wise, and a lot of the attention has gone on to that rather than the team and our preparation. But in terms of, as soon as I leave here, I'm back with the team. I'm back preparing, training, taking training, delivering meetings, speaking to individual players, trying to get the group in the best frame of mind possible. So the job never changes. Just the outside perception is, of course, one that's totally different to normal.
I guess you're seeing Alex though, aren't you? Because he's arriving in the afternoon to do his own training, and you're still here. Are you having conversations with him, and how is your relationship with him despite all this that's going on?
Yeah, I haven't seen him this week, I don't think. I saw him last week. Yeah, when I see him, we speak as normal. There's no issues there between us. Of course, it's a difficult situation from both sides, and I can see it's far from ideal for both parties, and that includes Alex and us. But no, when we see each other, we're fine and we speak. But as I say, I haven't run into him this week. He's training later on and detached from the group, and of course then I'm in meetings and pulled all over the place during the day. My days are chaotic because there's so much going on in them. But we will, I'm sure, catch up at some stage and hopefully speak soon.
And with every day that passes closer to the deadline, it's increasingly likely that Alex will be a Newcastle player beyond the end of the transfer window. You said that the door is wide open for him. How do you turn the situation around and reintegrate him well as part of the group?
I think that's probably a conversation for another day. At the moment, that is not an option for us. So rather than talk hypotheticals, I'd rather talk when we get there, when we get to that point, and then, of course, we'll enter that phase and see what we need to do to try and get the best for Alex, get the best for the team, which is always the priority. But until that point, I think we're best focusing on the players we have.
Okay, let's talk about the game itself already now that Eddie Howe's confirmed that Alexander Isak won't be there. He'll be a big talking point, no doubt, but there is football to be played. These games are always very interesting now between Liverpool and Newcastle. You know, they played in the Carabao Cup final as well, Newcastle getting that big victory.
Yeah, and then obviously you can see why Liverpool want Isak, and a fantastic goal there.
Yeah.
But I mean, over the years, I remember watching some of the amazing goals, like, you know, you talk about Sprilliers and the Ferdinands and, you know, Liverpool with Robbie Fowler and Stan Coleman and all that. But yeah, so it's always been a fixture that there's loads of goals, an exciting fixture for whatever reason, and obviously one that we look forward to watching. But, you know, I think this Liverpool team and, you know, the sort of like the quality they've got in those sort of like forward areas with like a TK, you know, watched him live the other night and he was unbelievable. You know, really exciting watch. I think we'll score a lot of goals this season, especially about the chances, Verts and, you know, the two fullbacks, Kirkers and Frimpong has got an injury. But, yeah, really exciting squad.
Yeah, Frimpong is injured, I think, till after the international break. Just your thoughts on Liverpool win?
I thought going forward they were sensational, and I did think there'd be a little bit of teething problems. I think they've done brilliant business, Ekitike, Frimpong, Verts, you know, but they was getting caught on the break a little bit. Yeah. You know, there was holes in it, and you know, which was slight, and that's okay because you're changing parts of your team. It was just about finding balance. Gravenbach's available for this game, so I expect him to come, and he was sensational last year at, you know, snuffing teams out and stopping the counter attack. But it's a great game, and this game could be another classic because it's poised. I watched Newcastle, and they are literally, I think, the best team at winning the ball in the midfield with Joe Linton, Tonali and Guimaraes, and breaking. They got pace in Alanga, Gordon, Murphy. So the game's going to be... There has to be goals in this game. There has to be goals, I think, and it's going to be an exciting one. And I think it could be a high-scoring draw.
Yeah, I think there is going to be plenty of spice. High-scoring draw, 3-3 last time out.
Yeah.
Joe is ready for predictions already. We like it here on Team Talks. Well,
I mean, it is so fascinating as well. You've got quite literally the best striker in the league, potentially the best striker in Europe, and something like this has manifested itself. I mean, Jay, how do you think Isak has handled this whole situation?
I mean, one thing I would say, he should always go training and he should always want to play the matches, because ultimately, whether he goes, whether he stays, he wants to be match fit, he wants to be ready. There's no player out there that doesn't want to play football matches. But I do think that there's more to the story than what we actually know, because, you know, I've heard a few things where he got promised a big deal and then the big deal didn't happen. You know, it was reported 300 grand a week, and it didn't end up materialising. That would obviously upset a player. And when you hear like Gordon spoke out, even Eddie Howe there, it doesn't sound like he's really upset with him. It sounds like they're more understanding to the situation that's happened.
Yeah. With the hierarchy.
With the hierarchy, yeah. Yep. And I feel like with the players as well, because ultimately you haven't really heard any players coming out saying, you know, if you don't want to be here, you don't need to be here. It's very much, you know, kept under wraps. But ultimately, there's definitely more that's happened. And I can understand if he's been made promises and they haven't been fulfilled, why he would be upset.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, you want to be in a situation where the club trusts you, you trust the club, and you're moving forward in the right direction together.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because I think when people first saw the statement that Alexander Isak put out, instantly people thought he's been promised to move away. Yeah. That must be what it is, but you think it could even be that deal?
I think it would be a deal. Because he's won the League Cup, right?
Yep.
He's had a great season. He's had a great 2 or 3 seasons.
Yep.
He's the main man.
He's in the Champions League.
In my opinion, he's probably the best number 9 in the world, as in take age into consideration as well. And now he's saying, well, if you rate me at 120, 150 million pound, pay me like that. Pay me like that player.
Yeah.
Give me that kind of money. If he's worth 150 million pounds to Newcastle, then you have to pay him that same way. He can't be on 150 grand a week or something like that. You need to pay him like he's one of the best players in the world.
Yeah. I mean, Clinton, have you ever seen a situation like this where it is just a complete standoff?
I think it happens, and I think it's going to happen more. Probably not in our time because it's a bit different, but I think now it's going to happen more. I think when it's happening, we're talking about Isak, but I think the same thing's happening with Vissa, but Vissa's now started to train with the Brentford first team.
Yeah.
So it's happening. It's because players are trying to force the move, and it's player power. But I think he wants to go and play at Liverpool as well anyway, because I feel, even though Newcastle won a trophy last season, got into the Champions League, Newcastle's a huge football club, but I think you look at what's happening at Liverpool, and I think he sees the exciting project they have under Arne and all these players that they're signing there. So he's one of those where, at first, when I saw his statement, I said he's out of order. And I said whoever's advising him is out of order, because...
What about the statement did you not like?
Because I just think to myself, he's saying he's promises, that can change. Jay knows in football. A club can tell you one week they want you, and the next week they could just say, we don't want you, and discard you. And that happens in football. There's no loyalty in football. I know Newcastle fans will be disappointed that he wants to leave, but there's no loyalty. If they didn't think a player was good enough, a club are quick enough to get rid of a player. So why can't a player say, I want to leave the football club? I don't think he's gone about it the right way, but I kind of understand now if he's had promises from the hierarchy that said, we'll either give you a bigger contract or we'll let you move, and it hasn't happened. But these things does happen. I think the best, what Jay, and he made a great point, go and train. Still go and train. Keep your head down. Like the likes of Eze didn't want to leave the football club, but look what he's done. There was a lot of rumours by him. He didn't go to Palace and say, I'm not going to come to training or stuff like that. He just got on with it. We don't know the ins and outs of that. That's why I was happy when Isak came out with that statement, because he kind of, and then Newcastle came back with another statement. So I think it's good, but it's going to happen, isn't it? Let's be honest. I think his time at Newcastle's finished, isn't it?
But I mean, even to what Eddie Howe said there, again, Eddie Howe doesn't strike me like he's really upset with the situation. He sounds understanding to me when I listen to him speak. Now, when you see Eddie Howe, the way he carries himself, he's very, cutthroat. I think he's really straight. I think the reason why all players like him is because he's just very honest.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're seeing here. He's being very honest about the situation. He is not saying at all the way he's carrying himself is terrible. We don't want to play like that at this club. So to me, he sounds a bit understanding. That's why I feel like there's more happening behind the scenes than what we know.